I fucking hate that song.
I actually really like it.
I hate it. The more and more we hear it, the more and more I hate it.
I like that song. I forgot where I heard it from.
Sound of Music?
No, I didn't watch that movie.
Okay. All right, let's go. Hello and welcome to the 10th episode of Up Until Now podcast. I am your co-host JD.
I'm your other co-host Andrew.
And today again we have a very special guest, my fiance Esther.
I'm engaged!
As we said in the last episode in the beginning, I briefly mentioned that Esther was no longer my girlfriend and in fact my fiance. We didn't want to talk about that right off the bat. We kind of wanted to just talk about our dogs first because of the pandemic that's going on, and we just wanted to give a shout out to our dogs essentially. So that's kind of the reason we did that. But also, we just want to thank you guys for sticking with us for 10 episodes. Like, we are in the double digits, Andrew. Like,
Yeah,
that is
we
insane.
are.
Did you think that we would even get...
Nope.
No, me neither. I thought, again, like, as I said in, like, episode 6 or 7, like, I didn't even think we were going to get past episode 3.
Yeah, I thought we was just going to do it just to kill some time and help me with my depression at first and then get over it. But I ended up having really fun doing this. So
Yeah, it is actually pretty fun. And it just gives us, again, like we said multiple times throughout this podcast, it just gives us an outlook and an avenue to, like, talk to each other and have an excuse to, like, really keep up with one another. Because it used to be where we were like, oh, I didn't even know that happened 6 months ago. But now it's just like, what happened? Like, last week, it was just, even if you didn't tell me, like, something that happened last week, I'd be like, what the hell? Why didn't you tell me that earlier?
right now I just feel like we talk a lot more, even though like we didn't need to talk just to keep our friendship or anything like that. But
Exactly.
it's nice to, talk to you more often. And Esther.
Yeah.
All right, then. So this episode specifically, I think, is going to be more of like a question and answer because we are going to be talking about Esther and my engagement. So the person that has, I guess, the least information overall would probably be Andrew, because the only thing that he knew is that he needed to help me convince Esther that I was in Indianapolis. And outside of that, he didn't really have an idea about what was going on when it came to the proposal.
Yeah. So a little background on the proposal. JD went to Seattle. Well, he bought Esther tickets to go see her friend in Seattle. And behind the scenes, JD bought a ticket for himself to go propose to her while she was there with her friends. And he worked with her friends down there to get the whole engagement proposal going. But I was in Indiana watching the dogs.
And that's all you know, right?
That's pretty much all I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean for it to be that way. It's just...
No, I get it.
Well, the thing is, I really wanted to talk about it in the podcast, but I couldn't because every time we were recording, it was either Esther was in the apartment or Esther would be coming into the apartment, or, because I didn't want her to, like, hear the podcast, like, while I'm listening to it and give something away.
No, I get it. You hate me.
No, it's not that I hate you. It's just that's how it happened. That's all.
No, it was a big surprise to me. Like, I knew it was gonna happen. I just didn't know any of the specific details that were going into it. Like, I know I went there knowing that you were gonna propose that weekend, so that's why I went to go pick up the dogs. So, like, the fact that I could do that much for you guys kind of made me feel a little involved.
Oh no, you did so much more than that, because...
Well, what I did was I took videos and pictures of me and the dogs in my apartment in, like, JD's perspective, so that he can try to attempt to fool Esther and be like, oh, he is in Indiana with Andrew, so there's no way he's going to be in Seattle. Because Esther had her little suspicions, but we were trying to just do the most we could to throw her off. But yeah, that's the most involvement I got. Not too much. Kind of feels bad, but not whatever.
I'm sorry, man. It's not like I, like, purposely excluded you. Like,
I think you did. You picked a couple states away from me.
Just a few.
Just a tad bit.
Andrew, it's not about you.
It's always about me. Are you kidding me? Your wedding, I'm gonna be there, aren't I? All me.
And Moro?
Can she bring your ring? Oh, God.
Take that as a no.
I think if that were to happen, I don't even think Moral could do that. Cause like if Moral like saw you like standing up,
Oh my god.
standing you and JD like just standing up, she'll just bolt. There'll be nothing cute about it.
She just like run and just do I'm Moro.
Do her signature, I'm Moral. Like ruin
Paw
your
jab
dress.
us right in the gut.
Congratulations.
I love you two so much.
Ruin the dress and the suit.
Just one swoop and just boom, double jab us.
But I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. The wedding planning has been really stressful lately because of everything that's been going on. And also, it's just really busy at work because of everything that's been going on.
Yeah.
So, kind of trying to stay focused on wedding planning isn't like my number one priority
Mm-hmm.
personally. I mean, Esther probably is more into the wedding planning than I am, which is very true.
Well, my thought process is, if anything, this kind of gives us an upper hand in the planning so we can get things straightened out. So once everything goes, quote, quote, back to normal, it's so efficient. Like, we'll just go boom, 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 boom. Like, we already know what we're going to have to do.
But is that what's happening right now?
No.
Okay, she directs that no at me, but it's very different because all the individuals in her building after the pandemic broke out, literally almost no one came back. So in a building of about 600 students,
400.
400 students, only like 7 to 8 came back.
Nice.
But I have 6 separate buildings, each housing close to, at minimum, 500 kids in each building. And I had to like control all the keys. I had to make sure everyone was like being checked out and XYZ and doing all these things that were on the back end and a lot of the administrative work on it. So when I'm at work, I just work.
You're right.
And you know what it's like when you work for 8 hours outside or actually physically doing something that's either
Right,
mentally
yeah.
or physically draining. Like when you come home, you don't want to do jack shit.
You just want to relax, take a shower, eat, go to sleep.
Yep. Or just watch some TV, play some games. And I think that's where the misconnect from Esther and I came on, specifically for just wedding planning.
I guess like for Esther, like her downtime, she wants to spend it planning. For your downtime, you just want to relax.
Yes,
And-
because I spent my entire day talking to angry parents over the phone that like their students can't get their stuff from their rooms. And
I get it. I mean, both perspectives, I get it.
yeah. It's not like I'm saying like I'm like completely voided of the wedding plans like forever, like until the wedding day. No, that's not it. It's just right now it's hard for me to get focused in that. And
Esther,
I thought this was supposed to be at the engagement.
well, we're leading up to it. We're leading up to it.
yeah, it's kind of like a tangent. that we're
Yeah,
going
like,
through.
do you forgive him?
Okay.
All right.
That was very heartfelt. I really appreciate it.
You're
Esther.
welcome. I love you too.
So Andrew, is there any questions that you had about the engagement, like for me or for Esther?
So a big one for Esther was, why weren't you as surprised? Like,
Because-
was it because like, okay, I know you said you had suspicions like leading up to everything, but was my decoys not good enough?
on the day of, when you like posted videos on like social media and like JD's perspective, like that actually worked. That worked really well. But I mean, that was pretty much it. And I was also with my friends that day. So I was distracted. I had a whole day ahead of me. I was there to celebrate my friend's birthday. So no, I'm not going to focus on him or the social media. I wouldn't check it as much. So
What was going through your head when you first saw JD? Oh, I knew it.
no, I was very much in shock because my friend like had to like take my shoulders and physically turn me. I was just so surprised, and so at first I'm like, I'm like my first like words were like, oh, it's you, like, oh, hi, and then like a lot of I think when he was about to like talk and stuff, like when he was like doing his like quote 3-sentence speech, like I thought I was about to cry, And then in the back of my head, all of a sudden, I was like, I fucking knew it. I was totally right. I knew he was going to do this. I was so right. Good job. But then, like, as he was, like, kneeling, I'm like, shit.
I wasn't paying attention.
I'm like, wait, shit. Get back. I'm like, what? Hang on. So a lot of different emotions, I think. I think overall, I was just very much in shock. Like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, because, like, I told this to so many people, like, for me at least, like I always dreamt about this happening in like movies and fairy tales, and it's like, oh yeah, whatever. And we talked about getting married and getting engaged and all that stuff. But for me, like that's all talk. Like it's like, okay, whatever. I mean, yeah.
Until like it actually
happens, you're like, oh wow, like.
Okay, so do you want to give a little backstory on? Okay, so like I mentioned earlier that it was in Seattle, but the specific location. What's the backstory on that?
I'll step in and grab this one. So the location was Molly Moon's Ice Cream. All three of us actually have been to Molly Moon's at one point of our lives in Seattle. So Esther went a year after in 2017, right, Esther? So in 2017, Esther went to Molly Moon's Ice Cream. Andrew and I went to Molly Moon's Ice Cream for the first time in 2016. So I saw Esther post a video of her visit to Molly Moon's Ice Cream, and I legit like slid into the Instagram DMs. I'm like, oh my God, like I've been here before. Like this place is amazing.
No, you commented on the post.
Oh, so it's either way.
And then I slid into your DMs.
Oh, that's right.
She slid into your DMs?
Yes. Yeah, because we were just talking on the comments, like the public comments. Okay. And then I was just like, okay, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just like a quick conversation. But then Esther was the one that Instagram messaged me first and was like, I don't want to talk on the chat anymore, or not the chat, the comment section. And yeah, let's just talk here. So we started talking there, and then Esther like was wondering if like I was interested in grabbing a meal just to catch up. I'm like, okay, sure, yeah, no problem. And then that's where it kind of all started. So our mutual love for Molly Moon's and just the fact that the post that we reconnected on was Molly Moon's was the reasoning why I wanted to go to Molly Moon's to propose in front of a Molly Moon's ice cream store.
Very nice. What did they do anything for you guys?
Yeah, so I emailed them ahead of time, and I just wanted to give them a warning, like, hey, listen, this is the reason why I'm gonna do this, and I just want to know if there's anything that that people have done in the past that like could help me. And they're like, oh, sometimes people do a scavenger hunt. In my head, I'm like, it's 3 days before. I don't have enough time to put together a scavenger hunt in a city that I don't even live in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They was like, oh, we can just give you like free ice cream. I'm like, yeah, I'll take the free ice cream. That works. So after the engagement, we went immediately to dinner, and then we came back to that Molly Moon's ice cream, and they all gave everybody involved, even Esther's friends, like all free ice cream cones.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Molly Moon's then.
Big shout out to Molly Moon's, yeah. So on the YouTube video on Esther's YouTube channel, you can go check it out. I don't even think there's a link in the description, but we will kind of bring it out there. So if you look at it, like there are Molly Moon employees sitting on the bench to the left of the frame, just like laughing and smiling, and the Molly Moon ice cream like employees were very, very like very happy and very excited about it.
Did you work with anyone else? Like, I know you went there like last minute, so any like hotel stays or anything like that?
Oh, actually, yes. So I used to work. New thing. I used to work for that social media company that I worked for. They changed their hour policy where in order to be a part-time employee, you needed to have 18 hours a week. And I'm like, I don't have enough time for 18 hours a week. So essentially, like, I quit / got laid off.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't work for them anymore. But the social media company that I used to work for that was based out in Chicago, I reached out to a few of the properties of the hotels that were in the Seattle area and like gave them my story and like was just asking if there's anything that they could do to help me compensate for a stay. So I actually stayed at the Westin Seattle for 50% off.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I think they gave me a larger suite, and the room was like on like the 41st floor. So from our room, if you like looked all the way to the right, like you could see the Space Needle, and then we could see the Ferris wheel.
Oh yeah.
On the pier. So and then like we had the whole look of the sound and stuff like that. So it was really nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I did have hookups and stuff like that, and I utilized the resources that I had to like make it cheaper
That's
because
good.
the ring was pretty expensive.
Yeah, I know you got 2 rings. One was like a little decoy ring, not a decoy ring. It wasn't like your official engagement ring, just like as like a placement holder, right?
So what happened was a few months ago, Esther's cousin sent her a website link, and it was for like fake diamonds, kind of. They're
What's
like
the actual term called? Moissanite.
it was like moissanite diamonds or whatever. They were very, very cheap. So I was like, oh, okay, this could be like a placeholder, and then maybe before we get engaged, or not before we get engaged, but before we get married, like we can switch it out and like upgrade the
Yeah.
ring. I bought it. I got sent to my apartment, and I opened it. I'm like, okay, the box is a little tacky, but I think I can get by with this for a little bit. Esther's mom got the same link and bought herself one of the fake rings because she thought it would look nice, so she just wanted one. So she
Right.
got one because they're cheap. They're like $100. He's taking a look at the ring now. But what happened was Esther originally looked at it and was like, "Oh, I don't like this. This is tacky." And she was texting me all this. I'm like, "Well, fuck. Like, I have this same exact thing at my parents' house, so I need to go and get an actual ring now, or she's gonna say no." So I went to a jeweler that was located in Chicago. It was like a small, like mom and pop kind of shop, and got the ring that she has on now. So
Okay, so I'm looking at both the rings right now, like the real one and the tacky
Moissanite?
one. Yeah. The real one looks so much nicer. Like it just if I saw that JD got her this one, like the Moissanite one, like I in my head I would immediately think, "Oh, that's fake." Sorry, best friend, but I know you can't afford a diamond this big. It's just I'm just being realistic, but then like this one is like, "Oh, so cute." Is like I can tell that it's more realistic.
I think it's also the band though. Like I actually think what makes the Moissanite one look not my style because of the band. It's so
It kind of looks
thick.
like a toy.
yeah,
It looks very thick. Like the band's very thick.
it kind of looks like the ones that you get like out of like those
The little
like, quarter
quarter
stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
quarter
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh crap, I have to go find a ring.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was Columbus Day or something. I don't know. It was some random Monday. I think it was the Monday before I came back to Champaign after winter break.
Okay.
I took my sisters. So Jocelyn met me in the city, and then Jemmy was already with JC. So we all met up in the city, and Jocelyn and Jemmy helped me pick out the ring and like
Nice.
the bands and stuff and all that. So
Now I know you proposed on leap year, February. Are you a genius for it, or are you a jackass? Because now you don't need to celebrate your anniversary for 4 years.
yes. It was kind of a mix of the two things. One, it was because that was the only weekend that I was free.
Okay.
So 2 weekends before going to Seattle, I was in Colorado doing my engagement shoots with my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks before that, Esther and I were in Cancun.
Okay.
So it was kind of the only way to like space out trips for myself so I don't go
Mhm.
insane. Also, if we bought tickets when I went to Colorado, there's no way I would have been able to go to Seattle and propose.
Yeah.
So I wanted to leave a little bit of like a couple weekends on and off where I can like rest and like not have to worry about going to O'Hare every single time to grab a flight. So that's one of the big reasons why we picked that weekend. From what Esther and I have seen, February and the beginning half of November, the flights are really cheap.
Okay.
So normally a round trip flight to and from Chicago to Seattle would cost about $300-$400.
Okay.
In February, it's $200 or less.
Nice.
So Esther and I, we each spent about $180 ish on flights round
Not
trip.
bad at all.
Yeah, so that's another big reasons why it just happened to be leap year and leap day. I didn't know.
You didn't know.
It's not like I purposely planned it. I'm like, oh, 2020 is gonna be a leap day, so I'm just gonna propose on
Well,
leap day.
yeah, but
It just happened to like fall on that day.
I specifically remember you talking to me once, and you were like, "Dude, I'm gonna propose on leap year. I don't gotta celebrate for 4 years," and you gave me a high five for it.
Well, you gave me a high five back.
Wait, I'm gonna support your decision no matter what.
So you encourage this behavior.
I didn't encourage it. I was appalled. I was like, how can you? You need to celebrate it every year, not every 4 years.
But the thing is, we're still gonna celebrate it every year.
When?
Esther can pick either on February 28th or March 1st.
So we're only celebrating anniversary every 4 years.
This is not what I'm saying. Like, did we not? Are you not listening to what I just said? Like, I just said Esther can
but
pick
like
when we
your
celebrate.
actual date.
I mean, out of all the people that are out there, who actually celebrates their proposal date, their proposal
A
anniversary?
lot of people that do that. It's a special day.
You have
Really?
to ask me every year.
I do.
Yeah, hell yeah, you gotta. So she's gonna throw you off. She's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm gonna celebrate on February." You're gonna get everything planned for that. She's like, "Nah, March." That's what you get for planning on leap year.
But it's not my fault. Like, it just happened to fall on that day.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I mean, I guess so the thing is, if that was the case, I guess I could have waited till March 1st,
Mm-hmm.
but that would have been Sunday, and I would have had to spend a night in the West in Seattle alone. And I guess I could have taken that day and gone like touristy photos stuff that entire day, but.
Wait, I'm dying. I like scrolled all the way to our first DM. Sorry, off topic of Instagram. This one's a little distracted. And there's this one where JD goes, "Wow, that fits us pretty well." And I said, "Ha ha ha, we're not dating." And you say, "Oh shit, you're right. Boundaries." I'm sorry, I just thought it was funny.
Wait, what was the context behind it? What did you say?
I just found our old like first messages that we did on Instagram. So I guess
Uh-huh.
Instagram doesn't delete any of our messages. So if you
Oh,
just
yeah, yeah.
scroll all the way up, I found messages from us from like 2017.
Well, what did someone say to say no boundaries? What was the context behind that?
I think I sent him a post about something, and he's like, "Oh, it's just like us."
Oh, we're not dating. I remember when you first called me to tell me about her. What? No, this is part of my best man speech. I'm not gonna say anything.
You can say a little bit of it.
No, it's a secret.
Okay, fine. We can wait a little bit for it.
That's right. Do you guys have a date that you guys are thinking about?
No.
Damn.
See, again, like all the wedding planning has made Esther very irritable towards me.
Which is very understandable.
It is. And again, I've done everything that she asked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she asked me to put a guest list together. It took me a little while because, again, coming home, I didn't want to think about a guest list. I got it done by the day I said I was going to get it done, or the weekend that I got it done by.
Mm-hmm.
I added a photographer that I really liked. I added a videographer that I also really liked. I organized the guest list by who invited them, like which side, like
Mm-hmm.
bride or groom side, whatever, and alphabetical by last name.
Ooh, fancy.
And I also adjusted all the guest list numbers for the people that I knew that were coming. So, for example, Ellen,
Okay.
she's coming, and she only put Ellen and her significant other, but I'm like, the entire family is going to be coming because,
Right.
well, I know their entire family. So I adjusted those numbers, and I looked through it, and I did things for it and to help.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know where all the animosity is coming from on Esther's side.
She wants more for you to go above and beyond.
I did go above and beyond.
Above that.
Do you want to plan my wedding?
Hell no.
I guess what I'm looking for is like I think of this as like it's an us day. Like, this is for you and me, and I've told you that before. And you always go, "Oh, whatever." No matter what it says, it's always about the bride. No, it's not. It's not about me. But if I'm genuinely telling you, I want you to partake in this because I want it to be special for you too. But yeah, you show no initiative. It's frustrating. And I told you this. If you don't care for it, then you got to tell me that. I'm like, okay, that's great. Then I'll just go ahead and start doing things. But I'm here waiting because you said that you wanted to be a part of this. And so, again, it's just we need to communicate expectations of what we want from this. Because I also think about us planning trips, and we plan very well. We both put equal work into it. And so maybe that's what I'm thinking about as well, is like we planned and worked together before, and for whatever reason, just this one thing you're not willing to work together on. But if you don't want to work together, that's okay, but you got to tell me.
again, with what's going on in the world as this global pandemic is circulating the globe. Literally, there's over 1 million confirmed cases. Our work, specifically my work, because Esther and I have very different positions in university housing. We both deal with university housing, but we all deal with students, but the things that we do is very different. I have a lot of more administrative work when it comes to the building maintenance and keys and all this stuff, and making sure that students have access to the residence halls that they live in, all this stuff. Like, I deal a lot with that.
Mm-hmm.
Esther deals more with mental health and first responding to like emergencies and other things of that nature. Her administrative work isn't as piled high as mine. Not saying she doesn't have any administrative work. It's just mine is a lot more taxing, like mentally taxing, because I just continually have to think about it. And with all these protocol changes, it directly affects the way that I do my job, and it directly affects of what I have to get done day by day, week by week. So it's out in the open, but our residence hall has been closed to students, and we partnered up with the local hospital system where 2 of our residence halls can be used as spillover quarantine rooms for medical staff or whoever, just people that can't go back home.
Okay.
And then our gym, our like large like recreation center for the residents, has also is being transformed into a triage, like kind of like a mini hospital essentially. So, but the buildings that are being opened for like overfilled and quarantines and stuff like that, like that's my building that's going to be opened up. So I have to get all those keys ready. So I just have a lot on my plate at work. So coming home to not only plan for, you know, a worldwide pandemic, but also plan for my wedding is not in my brain. Like, I have other things that are going on.
Yeah.
There are things that I want to help with. Like, I want to help make sure that like the photographer that we get is somebody that I trust and somebody that I know is going to do good work and something that kind of fits both of Esther's and my kind of aesthetic. There are things that I want to contribute to. Again, at this moment in time, we've been engaged for a little over a month, and in that month, so much has changed. Because in that month, it went from anybody can travel anywhere to literally, like, governors are telling people in their states to stay at home.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly, it could escalate to the point where people are going to get ticketed for being outside.
Yeah.
And not following the social distancing protocols. Like, it's a real pandemic and a real thing that's going on in this world, that whether you believe in that the COVID-19 virus is going to get you and kill you or not, it's still something that like affects everybody worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a constant topic.
Yeah.
So those are my reasons as to why, like, currently right now, my brain, I can't focus on wedding planning, because there's just a lot to plan in a wedding, of course. But there's also a lot going on now and present day that's affecting my life and my career personally.
Your day-to-day life.
Exactly.
Okay, but my next question is, after being engaged, you said for a little bit over a month now, has anything changed between you two?
That's a loaded question, because just with like you all just talked about, with everything going on in the world, it has affected our in-home life too. I think it's hard to leave your emotions at work and come home happy all the time. Like that is something that I'm personally learning to do. I think it comes with maturity and growth and all that stuff. But because of that, and because we're engaged and I'm having this, now I get to actually take things more seriously as far as like what I want for my wedding, instead of always telling him like, oh, if we get married, I want this. If we get married, I want that. Like, now I can actually like, oh, this
When
could,
we get
yeah,
married.
like this could, I could actually have this if we both want to. And the fact that now that gets like not shut down, but not planned or things like that is not upsetting, but it's like, oh, okay. But as far as like the relationship goes, I think, again, going off of that, we've argued a good amount, like at least twice for the past month. The honeymoon stage of being engaged lasted a good solid 3 weeks. And then after that, along with COVID and work and policy changes and our lives pretty much changing along with the rest of the world, it's a lot of adjustment. So it's like trying to balance that happiness and that honeymoon stage, but also that like I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed. Oh, we can't do this anymore, or things like that. So there's a lot of different factors, I think.
And I completely agree with that. For me personally, I like to have it where work is left at work.
Yeah.
And when you walk through the door, like, you shouldn't be working.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just my personal thing, because I've seen it affect my family, like my nuclear family, like my parents, my siblings. Like, my dad always brought home work. Always. Like, the job that he's in, being a pastor, is a 24/7 job, essentially. Like, you can have people calling you at like 3:00 in the morning, and you have to be in that pastor mode.
Yeah.
For us, for Esther and I, like, there are portions of the job where we can just leave it at work, but there's just the situation that we're in, and being so close to campus and other things of that nature, it's hard to leave a lot at work and not bring them home.
Right. I mean, Esther works in the building she lives in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's understandable that it's hard to separate that life sometimes, especially in your guys' case.
With us trying to be at home and planning the wedding beforehand was like, okay, yeah, I'm more than happy, more than down. And then all this shit, the shit hit the fan, and we're just like, oh shit. At work, Esther says it perfectly. We make a protocol based on what we know and the information that we have. Then the governor does a stay-at-home order. We have to change all the protocols.
Right.
I have received more emails in the last week and a half than I have this entire semester.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so many policy changes over and over and over again just to adjust for everything that's being going on. And it's not like I'm not grateful for, like, the protocols that are being put in place. It's just,
it's a lot to juggle.
It's a lot to juggle. Exactly. It's just been really hard to really focus on just being happy about the engagement, because it's just so much going on in our personal lives and just in the world in general.
Well, let's talk about something a little bit before this whole pandemic crap.
For sure.
I remember you told me on the plane ride that you talked to someone who recently got engaged, and like you asked them like any advice.
Oh, yeah, I did.
And I want to ask you, do you have any advice for other male or female, whoever is planning on the proposal? What would you say?
So the people that I talked to on the plane, we started talking about, why I'm going to Seattle and what's going on. And I told them, oh, yeah, I'm surprising my girlfriend and I'm proposing. And they recently got married 2 months before. I was a little nervous, of course, like kind of just on the plane. I'm like, this is actually happening. Like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. And they're like, don't worry about it. Just breathe. I'm like, okay. And then I asked the groom or the husband, I was like, so is there any advice that you have for, like when I do propose? He goes, honestly, it doesn't matter what you say, because she's just going to be in so much shock that she's not even going to remember what you say. So I'm like, that actually helps a lot, because then I didn't have to memorize like a long ass speech or anything like that. I just was very quick and very like, because I was nervous and jittery too. So I was like, I didn't want to keep stumbling over words and stuff. So I was like, okay, that helps a lot. And there's just like, yeah, it's fine. Like, you sent her out to Seattle and you guys are coming from Chicago. Like, that's gonna be surprise enough. And just as long as you say that I love you and ask the question, will you marry me? You should be fine.
Yeah.
The bride was like, yeah, I don't even remember what he said. I think he said I love you like once or twice. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I hope he said that. And she's like, yeah, it didn't. Like, I didn't even say yes, because I was just so shocked, and like I didn't even know what was happening, and I didn't even say yes. I just kept nodding my head, and that's exactly what happened with Esther, because when I proposed and asked the question, I wanted a verbal answer, but she just wouldn't give me a verbal answer.
I remember I listened to a little bit of it, and then JD kept asking, "Is that a yes? Is that a yes?"
You just see her like covering her mouth and looking like she's borderline about to cry.
But then in her back of the head, she was like, "I know it." She wasn't paying attention.
But also,
yeah, she wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, but also, your girl recorded the whole entire night, so I do remember what you said.
No. She doesn't remember what I said. She's heard what I said. There's a big difference.
But I was still there in the moment with you.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. That's all that matters.
But if that video never existed, then you would not remember what I said.
You'd be constantly asking, "What did you say?"
Yeah. But now, instead of asking me what did I say, you just go to the video.
And
Nothing's wrong with that. Nothing's wrong with
There's
it.
nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like, there's a distinct difference
Uh-huh.
between remembering and memorizing what I said and just recollecting from videos.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So my question to you, JD, is what would your advice be?
Oh, my advice is just what that guy told me. It's like, stay calm. Like, normally your significant other has like an inkling. They kind of know when it's coming because it's so much planning and it's so much like secrecy, and you're just a little weird around the topic of like engagement and weddings and stuff like that leading up to that date. So they have an understanding, but they're still going to be very surprised when you actually do it. So
Right.
keep it simple and just ask the question and just do what you feel is right.
Yeah.
So I know some people like don't photograph or, record their proposals, and that's if it feels right for you, just go ahead and do that. But for Esther, I know she loves to have video to look back on and stuff like that. So I made sure that Esther's friends that were in Seattle were like recording when this happened and other things like that, just because I know she would want the footage more than just the memory.
Right.
So just do what feels right, keep it simple, and have a pretty good like percentage of if she's going to say yes or no. So
It's a 50-50.
you should probably wait a little bit.
Wait until it's 51. A little bit above half.
Yeah, a little bit above half.
So when are we getting married?
So I've stated before that I wouldn't mind like May or June of next year, or even August or September.
Can we... Okay, I don't want to say we, but can you guys not do it in like blazing hot weather?
That's why I'm more prone to May and June, because you know me, like you and I, we sweat and we just
Profusely.
don't like feeling that uncomfortable. So
Right.
I would love like May or June if we want to do it in a year. But if we want it less than a year, which I don't know if it's going to happen with what's going on, but I personally love the idea of a winter wedding.
Oh, that would be amazing. I'd rather be cold
Yeah.
than hot.
Because then with that, it could be like the colors would be like white, silver, and like a nice blue.
Yeah.
I'm open for whatever. I just would like some planning to be happening so then I can actually know what's going to happen. I don't care what happens or when it happens. I would like to know when and what it'll happen.
I mean, we got the guest list down, so not down, but
That's
like,
that's
we
a
have
start, though.
We have like the first draft of the guest list.
How many people do you guys got?
If everyone that we gave a +1 brings a +1 and all this, and everyone says yes, it's pretty big. It's about 240.
Around give or take. And I didn't even add my family in there because I thought that was just a given.
Yeah.
I put my family in there
He
just
put
so
his
for numbers' sake.
Yeah, so my family's not that big.
Okay.
But looking at it, like I can definitely trim off some
Oh, yeah.
names.
Yeah.
There's definitely names on there that we can definitely take off.
Like
Don't be
this
pointing
guy.
at me.
I'm not pointing at you. Pointing at my hand.
I'm gonna be standing up there with you.
I never officially asked you yet.
You don't have to. You don't have to. I already took it.
It's
I already
already
took
assumed.
that position.
Does anyone object in this wedding? Andrew.
What if I give it to my brother? I think he'd be very angry.
He's not gonna make it to your wedding if it's given to him. He's just not gonna make it. Something happened, and you're just gonna have to ask me last minute. Andrew, something happened to Josh. I need you to come up here.
No, I'm just trying to I'm trying to figure out a formal way to ask.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, Esther's giving her maid of honor these nifty gifties. I would also like cute
Nifty.
nifty gifties. Esther earlier today, she showed me or let me hear a recording that her maid of honor recorded for her. It's so freaking cute. But now it feels like I have to do something for JD. Like it's like I kind of want to get in contact with this friend of yours. Be like, hey, what can I do for JD?
I mean, it's an idea. It's very.
I'll just take you to Topgolf. Something relaxing. We'll have a beer. We'll have a cigar. We'll relax, have fun.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind that. That'd be nice.
But I still have. I'm nervous about playing the bachelor party.
It shouldn't be too difficult.
We'll go to Topgolf. We'll have beer. We'll smoke a cigar. We'll be relaxing.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things in the air right now.
Yeah.
Just with everything that's going on personally, worldwide, and just other things like that. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint a certain date.
Would you give any advice for people who are secretly planning to propose, but they live with a significant other, like they already live together.
Ooh, kind of like your situation.
Don't
Yeah.
plan in the home. Don't do any kind of planning in the apartment, in the house, wherever you're living. Don't fucking do it. Do not do it. A lot of the mistakes that I made happened in in Esther's and my apartment, especially the big mistakes. For example, I was on the phone with my cousin in the apartment. I thought Esther was asleep in the bedroom. She was only like a little groggy, so she was still awake a little bit. I got lucky where she was kind of like falling asleep almost, but my cousin and I were trying to figure out when I was free to go to Colorado for her engagement session and like go snowboarding and stuff like that. So she mentioned the date, like from February 28th to March 2nd. I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I won't be in town. I'll be in Seattle.
Mhm.
And Esther heard that and went to sleep. And then she came to me like a day or two later and was like, hey, did I hear that you're going to be in Seattle at the end of February? I'm like, where did you hear that? She goes, oh, well, I swear you said that to your cousin while you were on the phone. In my head, I'm like, fuck, you're such an idiot. You're so dumb. And then I told her, like, no, I said that you were going to be in Seattle and then I had to stay at home and watch the dogs. And then she said, okay, but I knew for a fact, like, she did not believe a single word that I said.
Idiot.
I know, like, there was a lot of damage control because of that, but Esther's friend Angel helped me out a lot about that. We faked a Facebook conversation. She screenshot it and sent it to Esther, and it helped.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For people that are planning it in secret in the same like living space as your partner, don't do it at home. I did all mine through emails, work phone calls. And if you have any kind of phone calls or text messages in your phone, archive them or change the names of the people that you're texting. And just don't do it in the apartment. Just don't do it in the apartment or the home that you live together with. And because just don't.
And don't change your password or your lock for your phone if you already know the other person's lock and all that stuff while you're planning it. Because then that gives the girls a big like hint, like, wait, why can't I go in? And if they go to the partner and be like, can I see something? Like, oh, I want that picture when we took in the trip last month. Can I like find it in your pictures? And then you take the phone and then you don't tell them what the lock is when in the past you've always told them what the lock is. Like, that's a little weird. Like, don't.
That makes it more suspicious.
Yes,
Not even just for like, oh, is they're planning something that might lead to something else.
Into something, yeah, even a bigger argument that you don't want or don't need to get into. And so, yeah.
I didn't do that. Esther, I didn't change any of my passwords. Esther had full access to my Google Calendar for my personal email, but she didn't have access to like my work email and stuff like that. So everything was on my work email for a different work. But yeah, I kept everything as like separated from my personal stuff as I could. So I used the email from my old workplace for like booking the hotel. I used this was my fault because this was like the first mistake in the beginning where I used my personal email for my flight ticket because that was attached to my frequent flyer miles. I just wanted to get my miles. So yeah, I had to make sure everything was archived and stuff after that. But I did it immediately. As soon as that email came in, I archived it and made sure, like, because like Google Calendars does that thing where it goes in and pulls out information.
Mm-hmm.
I had to make sure my flight information was deleted on my Google Calendar because Esther had access to it.
Okay.
But I literally did it immediately.
That's good.
The hardest part for me was talking to Angel was kind of difficult because I didn't really have a lot of time at work, but also because every time I did it in the apartment, I made sure that Esther had a meeting, and I always waited 10 minutes after she left, and I ended 15 minutes before the meeting ended.
Okay.
Just to make sure that like she wouldn't just like walk in too early and I'd be like, ugh, like just like hit the button and be like, I wasn't doing anything.
That was mom.
So those are my advice. Try to keep all the planning on separate emails and don't plan in the apartment.
Okay. Okay, so like a general question for both of you is, did you guys sort of have like a feeling that you guys knew you guys wanted to spend the rest of your lives together?
Esther, you can answer first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was like a very like moment like he
Mhm.
did something and I'm like, oh, okay, this is it.
Husband.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things leading up to it. I think one of the biggest things that, well, one, I think you have to think about your own morals and values and about yourself. Like, how do you see yourself? What do you want for yourself and for your life? And how does this other person fit into that with you? That walk alongside with you, that encourages that and encourages you. And so, one of the biggest things for me is I think communication is very important. And we, from the get go, talked really, really well. And that's one of the biggest things that really started our relationship. And I think it's just a lot of, I don't know, just
The little things in between.
time and yeah, little things, just how he made me feel. Not to compare, but to compare to past relationships and how those have fucked up and those have not lasted, and like what's the reason for that, and what have I learned from my past relationships to get to where I am with who I am now, and how am I happy now with him. And so I think just a lot of things, but I think always just deep down I kind of just knew there's something about him.
Don't worry. I
Yeah.
know what you mean. Like,
I don't know.
I see it in him too. I know what you mean.
Mhm.
There's just something about you.
So special.
Oh, thank you.
I know.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's why I had to get you before someone else did.
Well, my first thing was I knew January 1st, 2018.
So specific. Why?
Because every year, except this past year, Esther has gone out and gotten incredibly drunk on New Year's Eve. She usually dedicates like one day to really just let loose and just relax. So,
Mhm.
and usually that happens on New Year's Eve. So, New Year's Eve 2017, she went out with her friend that lives in New York. She was in Chicago for a day. So, they both went to Chicago and got blasted. And then the entire night from like 12:30 a.m. to 4 o'clock a.m., Esther was drunkenly texting me and proposing to me multiple times. And I thought it was just like the funniest and the cutest thing. And I thought it was funny. Like, I didn't think it was like creepy or weird at all. I really liked her. And I just figured, oh, she's just drunk. It got me like thinking, I'm like, what happens if I do propose? And like, what happens if we did get married? And that thought has always stayed with me ever since she asked me that. And just what Esther said, just the way we conversed and just conversations, even during this podcast when we were talking about like our feelings of animosity and kind of uncomfortableness and things like that with wedding planning, being very open, even like in a very public sphere when it comes to like just recording a podcast and being able to talk about it and talk through it, just goes to show like how much we actually communicate with one another and how many arguments we've been in before that wasn't really like fights, but there were like arguments about our future and how we see and how we relate as human beings, as not just as like one cohesive unit as Esther and JD, but like JD and Esther separately, as individuals, and kind of melding our personalities and what we do and our strengths and weaknesses and trying to find that balance between it. And I think that's what really pushed me over, like, okay, yeah, you have to marry this girl. Like, she's the one for you. So yeah.
I think with me, I think one of the biggest things with us is that I don't feel like I have to change my life for you. There's something about us, there's something about you and me during this time and how we met and whatever that I'm very confident. And so like our fights, it's not like, oh, it's always my fault that I feel like. I'm always like, oh, I did something wrong and he did something wrong too. And that's my feeling. And it's like, you encourage me to be myself. You encourage me to continue the things that I want to do. And I think that's a big thing. I think another big thing for me is like just when we argue and how we argue. We said this week is during the argument, it's from recently for me, it's very emotional. It's really overwhelming. I do shut down a little bit, but the point of the matter is we still talk about it. Whether it's during that time when we're both yelling at each other, it's not just one person yelling at the other person. It's both of us getting equally frustrated in some way, shape, or form, in our own feelings, but being able to express that to each other and not being afraid to express to each other in a healthy manner. And then, but if the other person does shut down, that we both respect that to the best that we can at the moment of how we feel, and then talk about it later. Like in the past, I was always afraid to stand up for myself in arguments, especially with relationships and partners. And I think the fact that I can do that with you, it means a lot to me. And for the fact that you encourage me to do that, like you encourage me to speak up and to communicate. And so like I think that's one of the biggest things for me. Like you encourage me to be the woman that I want to be.
Yeah, like why wouldn't I want that? Like as an individual, why would you want your partner to change for you? Because if you're dating and you're like truly in love with one another, you're in love with all the person as a whole, not just their flaws and or not just their strengths, but their flaws as well. Like you want to be able to help them become a better person, but not change and force them to be something that you want them to be, but you just want to encourage them to grow with you and kind of become a stronger individual. So that's the kind of mentality that I have in my relationships, and I think it's always worked out pretty well. Even in my past relationships, yeah, they were not the right person for me, and I did not see that early enough. But I think with Esther, it was just a lot of accumulation of all the past relationships that I've had, and even the relationships that I wanted, like the person that I had a crush on at that time, like just thinking about the reasons why I was attracted to them, but then also realizing that if this would have happened, like there's no way like it would have lasted and it would have ended very badly. Esther knows, and Andrew, you know that I'm a very like techie person. I love tech. I love gaming computers because of their power and their just their raw ability to do things, but I'm not a gamer. You know that as well too, because I suck dick at computer games.
I suck dick.
I suck dick at computer games. Like I can't play. I'm not very good at games in general, like video games. I just can't do it. Like I'm not very good at it. I grew up outside and did a lot of like pickup like neighborhood sports, so video games were never my forte. But I have a gaming laptop. I have a gaming desktop. I have a bunch of like video games as well. I just like having technology, and it's just fun for me. Esther is also on the same way, where she loves the technology as well. She may not understand it as well as I do, but there's still like some kind of joy of getting like a new iPad, which I got this past week, and Esther getting a new camera and things like that. Like we enjoy it, and we enjoy like helping each other learn about the technology and learn like how to use the technology in our daily lives. And I think that's also a big thing that I have like really enjoyed about our relationship. So
Okay.
but it also sucks because technology is so fucking expensive and we just buy it.
Oh, okay.
So you can come over to our house and we have a bunch of technology but no money in the bank. So
Yeah.
but we're changing that.
That's right.
And then we could talk about that in a whole nother episode on the way that Esther and I do finances. So
So I was gonna ask you, but I think I already know the answer. What would be your biggest advice on making a relationship last? And I think for you guys, it's communication.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I think Esther feels the same way about this, but I could be wrong. But finding different ways and different forms of communication are the best.
What do you mean by that?
So, for example, Esther and I, we talk a lot in person, and that's kind of like how we like to discuss things. We send text messages and things like that during work, but also we have I don't know how many pages it's now, but we have a 50+ page Google Doc. And we use that when we know in an argument that we've had like gets too escalated on one part, and somebody's very frustrated and the other person shuts down. We use that Google Doc to be able to write our feelings and how we felt in our relationship and things like that without having the other person interrupt. But also having the ability to edit and go back and go through and making sure that the language that we're using isn't offensive. And that's what I use it for. Like if Esther's not reading it, I would just swear and just like do this stuff. But going back, I like, you know what? That's not how I feel. That's just the heat of the moment and just emotion. So we go back, we can edit it. And then it also gives the person that's receiving the Google Doc after that to like read through it and really kind of dwell on it and think about what the person's feeling and then write a response.
Well, that's very creative.
Yeah, that works for us. It might not work for other people, but finding ways of communication that works for both sides like is crucial, I think, in our relationship at least.
I think with us, I think in relationships in general too, I think going off of like that particular way of we communicated through letters and through times of reflection, because I think that's really what it gives the other person and for the receiving person to also have as well. To how actually, at least for me, to look at it, to read it over and over again if I need to, not to feel pressured on when to read it or how to read it, and to receive it and to reflect on it. And for me to reflect in my own thoughts and how it made me feel and to write back. Like JD said, it doesn't always work for everyone. Like I would always tell my girlfriends about this when they ever come to me about a relationship. Like, oh my God, this guy won't talk to me, or like I'm having such a hard time. And I would tell them what JD and I do. And they're like, okay. And they would try it and the guy's not receptive. And that's fine.
Right.
I think another I think, way for relationships to last is just to compromise, to be understanding, and to be vulnerable with each other, to really actually understand one another. Because I think that's another way that both of us have and will last for the rest of our lives, is to be open and to understand that, yeah, this may have worked from us when we were in our 20s. Okay, now we're in our 30s and maybe we've grown since then. Okay, so that didn't work. So let's try to find things that can work. So having an open mind and also being vulnerable with each other and saying like, hey, I didn't like that when you said that to me. We say that to all the time. Like I tell him, I get pissed off. I'm like, well, I didn't like that tone you used on me. Try your best not to do that because it made me feel like this. And he's told me multiple things of he doesn't like about me. And I think if the other person doesn't get it that first time, don't feel like, okay, great, well, they don't get it. And then just give up. Because then it's kind of like, okay, well, then I don't care what that other person thinks. No, that's not true. You probably do care. You're just frustrated. Mm-hmm. But if you're just going to give up when it doesn't work for the first time with you, the relationship isn't going to grow the way that you want it to grow. So being persistent, at the end of the day, reminding yourself why you're in this and how you want this to be at the end of your life. I think one of the biggest things for me, or that he does for me that helps me, is that at the end, even if we argue, because a lot of our arguments lately have been happening towards like the evening time and it'll last into the night. The way that I shut down is I get very quiet. Lately this week I've been very emotional, and so I'll just cry and I'll just go to sleep. And I'll be scared to speak up until like the next day. And I would like text him or call him or do something. For him, JD's been really, really good at like saying good night, I love you, and just kind of reassuring our relationship will be okay. Because I think on my end, I get afraid, I get scared that, oh, like I screwed up. Like I think I did something wrong, or like, oh shoot, I hope he's okay. And just not being able to say that. But I think also JD knowing that that's how I feel, that he steps up and says the things that he knows that how I am feeling too for us. So that helps a lot.
You guys are cute sometimes.
Sometimes. Other times we're just weird.
Really
you
ugly.
guys are disgusting.
Okay, it's mostly Esther. Esther's the one that brings it up.
Disgusting.
But yeah, I think that's one for lasting relationships. I think just communicating, being vulnerable. Because I know that's like the biggest thing with people in general. It's just afraid to really trust that person into your life.
Up,
yeah.
Being yourself.
Yeah. But obviously, if that other person doesn't encourage that behavior or makes you feel comfortable to do so, well, guess they're not it. Bye.
Oh, that's kind of funny. Like, this is like two introverted people talking. Like for me, being open and vulnerable is pretty easy.
Oh, I understand. I totally understand what Esther's saying.
Yeah.
Like that's why I think it's hard to like find someone. It's like it's hard to find someone that you can like completely be yourself around with.
Which makes sense, and I can't empathize because I'm not like that kind of person at all. But for me, it's just communication, because I'm so extroverted and I like to talk a lot. Like just sifting through all the bullshit and just calling me out on stuff. I think that's what Esther's really good at.
You're welcome.
Yep. But like being open and vulnerable is not too big of a deal for me. Mm-hmm. I like it because if people don't like my openness and my vulnerability, like there's no point like in pursuing the relationship.
Yeah.
Because that's happened to me a lot in the past. But
like they'll like you for a little bit because they thought you were someone, and then once you're like yourself, they'll be like that kind of feeling.
Kind of a little bit. It's more along the lines of, oh, like I like his energy, and I like the positive outlook that he brings, but then some people are like, oh, that's all he is. Like he's just really energetic. But he's also very open and talks about sometimes taboo topics a lot, and some people get really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So either it takes them a while to open up, or they just kind of like, okay, I don't want to talk to him because he makes me feel a little too open and too pulled into the conversation. So I'm like, okay, that's fine.
I mean, I think introverted people can also be like that. Like they can be really chatty. Like I'm very chatty.
Oh, I can be very chatty if I want to be.
But it doesn't.
But it's if you want to be, for you specifically.
For me, it's like it'll like there has to be like a little that spark just to be like, can I open up to you? But then, but once I do, like I can be chatty.
Yeah, like I can talk. Like I talk just fine. Like I have great people skills, I think.
Oh yeah, me too. Like I can talk to people.
Yeah, exactly. But
I'm not saying that you guys are bad at talking to people.
Trying to talk shit or something?
No. What I'm trying to say is, for me, there's not that thought of like, do I have to be like, can I be open with this person? It's just like,
Oh yeah, you're right.
I'm kind of like a dog where I'm just like, oh, okay, like I'm here, like let's talk, and like kind of bouncy and just really excited just to talk.
Me and Esther know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Get out of here, you extrovert.
Sorry. Any other like last comments before?
Congratulations, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, it's long overdue, but congratulations.
No, it's still very new.
She still like forgets she has a ring on and scratches my face sometimes.
It gets in the way.
Damn ring. Ugh.
I know.
Couldn't you get her a bigger one to make it more noticeable for her?
You know what's funny is every single time she like just even touches it on something and like it makes like a noise, she goes, no, I scratched it. You have to get me a new one. I'm like, no, like that cost almost everything that I have. Like, no.
It broke.
Hey, if it broke that, switch it out for whatever broke it.
Anything else, you guys?
I think we're good.
So, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I swear to God, you yodel. I will.
No,
Push
I was,
the mic
no,
directly
I
into your
was gonna
face.
say because I remember when I asked you like, oh, like whenever we had arguments, like, so you said you were planning this for what? How long?
I had the idea of proposing the way that I did for 2 years,
Okay.
but I didn't start like legitimately planning buying tickets until October of last year.
So since October up until February from when you asked, we've had some pretty intense or non as intense arguments. Even from those arguments during that time, why didn't you ever think like, okay, no, never mind, I'm not gonna do this anymore?
Ooh.
Because we've had some pretty rough arguments and some tough conversations throughout that time, especially during the holidays and my emotions and how I've treated you. And like, why didn't you like, okay, well, I didn't like the way that she treated me. I don't think we're ready. Or even just like, I think we're just going to date. We're probably not going to last that long. Or like, I don't believe in this. Like,
Why didn't you doubt your relationship?
yeah, like why was it so firm? Like,
The level of the arguments that we had was something that I've never experienced with anybody else. So there's a sense of, there's like petty arguments like, why the fuck are you breathing so low? I was like, what the hell is wrong with my, like those like petty shit.
Whoa.
You know what I'm saying?
I've never dealt with that much pettiness.
No, but there's certain arguments that are like kind of
No,
that
yeah,
level.
I know
where
what you
it's
mean,
like,
but-
it's just garbage. Like there's no point in arguing about that.
Like, shut up.
Yeah. The arguments that Esther and I have been having over the last 6 months were very, very heavy. They were very heavy arguments, at that, like emotionally draining arguments.
You want to give us an example of a
I'm
topic?
trying to think. Yeah. I
think
mean,
financials was the hardest one.
Okay.
money is always a big argument.
That's a good example.
Because
Um,
Esther and I, we view finances very, very differently. In a nutshell, Esther doesn't like to think about money because the continual thought about money reminds her of her parents. Like, you know how like the first generation Korean parents would always be working because they just think they need to get more.
Mm-hmm.
But my way of thinking is we can have things, we just have to prepare to have them. Like we have to wait a few months before we can like be financially stable to purchase whatever we want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my kind of philosophy. So trying to meld those financial ideals into one thing has been really difficult. It's a little bit easier now because we have like joint accounts and stuff, so it's easier to show her.
Yeah.
Because it was hard to like tell her what to do with money before because there was either one of us could have left at any time.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt that a lot of our arguments were very, very heavy in emotions and very future focused, and that's why I felt that the relationship was very secured. Does that make sense?
Right. Like an argument wouldn't be this deep if
There was nothing there.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of like that saying, like, it's kind of like when, if you guys don't fight, is it really a relationship?
exactly.
Something like that.
And just the topics that we were fighting about wasn't even just like stupid like high school drama bullshit. It was like
Real life, future.
yeah, real life futures and like heavy and really difficult questions to answer. Yeah, that's why I knew the relationship, even though like the last 6 months has been really difficult when it comes to our relationship, but it's not like a difficult where we're just nitpicking at stupid things about each other, but like with those like really difficult arguments and like how we actually want to grow together in our lives as adults and argue about the things that actually fucking matter, compared to things that just don't.
Another example of arguments that we've had is about just our emotions and just saying like, you really hurt my feelings. And that really shuts me down real fast because that makes me feel really bad. And that's when I go, oh, shoot, I hope he doesn't leave. Because I was really mean to him, and I don't think he deserved that. Like, I think he deserves better. There have been moments a lot for me, at least, like, that I've thought of that. And I think those were also really hard arguments for me because I didn't think I was good enough for him or whatever, or like he deserves better because I love him so much or whatever, blah, 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 blah. When things like that happen, it's anywhere along the lines of like, thanks for apologizing, or like, okay, like, how can I say it next time, or like, how do you want me to communicate?
It's not a half-ass sorry.
Yeah, but
You
at
gotta
least
try to fix the problem.
Yeah, or at least acknowledging it. But yeah, it's just compromising, agreeing, and accepting that it happened, and not apologizing or forgiving the other person when you don't really forgive them yet.
Just to do it, just to get this
Yeah.
argument over with.
But like letting them know, like, yeah, that really hurt me and I'm not okay right now. But still reassuring the partner, saying like, but we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to talk to you right now.
That was really good.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really tough one.
But that's like kind of like a quick delve into what my relationship with Esther is like right now. It's stressful, but it's a good stress that like it's like growing pains. It's exactly what it is. We're going through like this painful process of like growing together, but I know for a fact that I see a future, and I've talked to you about the future that I see,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, it's doable.
Yeah.
Like it's very, very doable, and it makes sense. Just being able to like see the light at the end of the tunnel, being like, you know what, all this pain, all this suffering, and all this hard work that we're putting in now is gonna result to that. It's gonna be all worth it.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of covers Esther and my engagement process, and now very slow wedding planning process. So
We can just elope. It's fine.
Oh.
I mean, it's an idea. This will save us a lot of money.
Or we can just say that we are married and just get the bands. We don't have to change our last names. No one will know.
We still have to get a marriage license.
You still don't want to be Kim Squared? Kim?
I mean, he won't
No,
let me.
I don't want to hyphen. Don't hyphenate. Please don't hyphenate.
Kim.
Kim.
Our poor children.
It's fine. They'll live.
You're right.
All right. Well, with that, I think that's a good conclusion to episode 10. I want to thank everybody that's taking a listen, because 10 episodes is hard. It's a lot of minutes, a lot of hours putting into editing these and recording these and finding time to record. So just thank you for following along with us on this journey. Yeah, if you guys want to get in contact with us,
Feel free to contact us in upuntilnowpodcast@gmail.com, or follow our Instagram with the same handle. And I also just want to say thank you. And thank you to our special guest today, again, Esther.
Am I regular now?
You might as well be.
I mean, you can drop in whenever you want.
We got the third mic set.
We have 4 mics now.
We got 4 mics now. We official.
Oh, Jemmy was supposed to come, but
You know, COVID. It's fine.
COVID, so.
Yeah.
I'm your co-host.
I want to take this time to thank my friend Eric for the music that we've been using for this podcast. Dude, it's incredible. Just waiting for the next song to drop. So, you know, you got 14 days in quarantine, man. You should probably do something with it. But if you like the songs that you hear on our podcast, Eric does have a SoundCloud page and an Instagram page, and he can be found at ch.tunes. That is ch.tunes. Thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.